Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to talk about something important. The idea that man and humans, man and woman that is, are made in God's image. Perhaps you've heard this. If you've been to church, you've likely heard this quite a bit. Made in God's image. I want to explore this idea a little bit because there's some opportunity for many people to better understand the concept. So made in God's image. If you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible, you're going to find some things that corroborate this. You're going to find a distinct line between mankind and the creatures of the earth, that which creeps and crawls on the earth. It is stated in the Bible that animals are here to serve man, that they are for our purposes, and it draws a very clear line between mankind, who is created in God's image, and animals. I think that this is a point of contention among pagans. If you are familiar with pagans, they live close to the earth in spirit. They have a lot of animal-centric ideas and beliefs, and it's fine. I think that that's actually probably a more accurate view of mankind than to say that people have some kind of intrinsic holiness above and beyond other living forms. I do think that man's better in many ways than most animals, don't get me wrong, but to say that we have some kind of divine, spiritual entitlement, like the Bible says, I would need evidence for that. I understand faith, I do. And I think that there's also the possibility of having too much faith or misplaced faith sometimes. Just having faith in something does not necessarily make it true. It does not bring it into reality. So the reality that I see, and I would challenge anybody to offer alternative viewpoints on this, the reality I see is that mankind is very much prone to the same diseases, the same shortcomings, the same deformities, the same mutations and abominations that can happen anywhere in the animal kingdom. And if you don't believe me, maybe pick up a medical digest. I had the benefit of reading medical books when I was growing up. Granted, they weren't current; they were like antique medical books, and some of it was just for shock value, some of it was for educational purposes. But point is that there were a lot of wildly grotesque and diseased people featured in these books. That was the point of the books, to classify these diseases. And I learned something from an early age. I learned that it doesn't always go right. It doesn't always go right. So to say that man is created in God's image, the question is begged, who exactly? Because I know the people in these books could not have been. Here's where it breaks down for me. The people who are born with genetic deformities, or who don't even get born because of genetic deformities, and everything in between, you can say that they were, botched. You can say that they were trying to be like God, but just didn't quite make it. But I think everybody's born innocent. I do. I really do. And I don't think it's fair to say that just because somebody is born as an abomination that they are not human necessarily. And I'll tell you where I'm going with this. I'm saying that to say that man is made in God's image, I understand the spirit of it. It's an attempt to be respectful to the Almighty. I think we can agree on that much. It's the symbol of respect. It's saying that we are grateful for the things that work. We are grateful for our beauty and our grace, such as it is. We acknowledge that we are flawed. We are with original sin, if you want to go on the Catholic side of it. But to say that humans must act godly is to be unreasonable. I'm going to go on record. I'm just going to say that would be unreasonable, because humans are born not just with original sin, if you will, but sometimes with genetic problems, sometimes with other deformities that would make it impossible and unreasonable to demand that level of holiness from them. And we can aim for that. Of course we can. We can try our best. We can put 100% of our best effort into being godlike and being complement God if we are in fact made in His image. But to say that everything we do for ourselves, even with our agency, even with our shortcomings, our infirmities, and our eventual infirmities, no matter how healthy you are when you get born, eventually everybody has some kind of breakdown of the body. So to say that we're made in God's image, I think that there is a huge opportunity to understand this better. If God is immortal, and it follows that He would be, then how are we made in God's image if people die? Okay, we are mortal, so how can we be made in God's image? We're not exactly made in God's image. At the least, we die off. We suffer old age and decrepitude and infirmities, and what's the word I'm looking for? Convalescence is the word. We convalesce eventually, and God's body does not convalesce. So I think that it's important to be fair. Fairness is very important to me, and to tell somebody that they have to aspire to some unattainable objective or model, I draw the line there. I say that you have to start by acknowledging people that have limitations. Everybody has limitations of some kind, and on a long enough timeline, every single person has the limitation of mortality without some kind of medical support. So my point here is a little bit sprawling, I'll admit that. I'm just over 6 minutes. I think that it's important to remember that people have to eat, first of all. Not a person was born who can live without eating. And once you have to eat just to live, you're going to be killing something unless you are nursing all your life. Okay, you're killing either a plant or an animal or something, and this is a little bit of a tangent. In the past, it should be obvious that people did not have the wide selection of things that we enjoy nowadays at the grocery store, for example. They had to eat what was available. And this is still true for a large part of the world. They don't have this embarrassment of selection to choose from. They don't have this, even the remote ability to avoid meat, for example. They would just die off for lack of protein. It's a necessary part of our diet as human beings without some kind of available alternative. Okay, so this is connected to man was made in God's image, in that, no, not exactly. Again, strike three here for me, strike three, because I've got to kill something. Maybe it's a blade of grass, maybe it's a cabbage, maybe it's a critter that, because I'm going to starve to death, I got to eat this thing in the forest or whatever. And if you don't think that you would do that, if you think that you would just choose to die off because you respect the critter, okay, I'm not going to argue that, but would the critter offer you the same thing? Would the critter be as courteous to you? Everything has to eat. In conclusion, mankind has appetites, and they're not optional. They're not something that you can just choose to ignore because something bigger shows up, and that is your survival instinct. And if I'm reading the Bible correctly, that's something God doesn't have to worry about. So until we're on some kind of level with the Almighty, with the divine, I beg to differ. Most people, the vast majority of people, they have problems, health problems, from early age. At this point in human history, most people have health problems. If you know anybody who never goes to the doctor, then that would be an exception. If you know somebody who is exceptionally graceful, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. If you know somebody who has been born and blessed with great gifts, then that's an exception. But even those people, we're not made in God's image, if you ask me. We all have opportunities. Reach out if you like with questions or comments down below. Thank you.